What do you get when you keep a hitting coach whose stars regressed, send a bunch of bats to the desert, and still don't know who's playing third base next year? Well, a Locked On Pirates episode that's probably got a lot more questions than it does answers.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Pirates, your daily dive into all things black and gold. I'm your host, Gary Morgan, and today we're continuing our Positional Review Series with a look at third base. We'll also dig into the decision to retain hitting coach Matt Hague and what that says about the Pirates' development philosophy. Finally, we're going to spotlight the 8 players heading to the Arizona Fall League from the Pittsburgh Pirates with a special focus on 3 intriguing bats. Let's get into it. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So, positional review. And I know this is getting a little tedious to some of you, but you got to have the fortitude to finish things you start, okay? Just because it's not the most fun positions to talk about, we got to fight through them. Third base is today. It's one of the more unsettled spots heading into 2026. With Ke'Bryan Hayes no longer in the picture, it's the first time in years the Pirates are left evaluating a mix of internal options, and we're not considering that position holy ground, right? I mean, that's one we can actually think about. Jared Triolo is the incumbent. Let's not pretend he's not. Steady glove. I'd love to call it an improving bat, but let's call it a bat that surged towards the end of the season, because I think there's still some room to go there to prove it out that it's more than just like a guy that found something clicked, and he kind of rode the wave out the rest of the season. You got Cam Devaney. Now, he kind of fell out of favor after getting a decent look there with the Pirates, but they did just acquire him. I kind of can't see them moving on super quickly. I would imagine he's at least got to be in the competition here for a spot. And I mentioned him for the first base talk the other day, but Malcolm Nunez, I'm going to bring up again here. They've been playing him at third base a lot more often than they play him elsewhere. He can pick it. I don't think that he's the smoothest fielder in the world, but he does provide something. It's a decent contact bat. Now, he was sold as having power when they picked him up. That has not translated, and he's really, really struggled to stay healthy. Another guy who struggled to stay healthy that I think was probably a dark horse for being in a conversation this year for being protected from the Rule 5 draft, and that's Jack Brannigan. But he was injured so much last year. I would be shocked if they protected him from the Rule 5 draft. I would think he probably would go unselected. I wouldn't do it. I would think like no team's really going to think they can carry him on their major league roster all year unless they – and even if you did, the upside I'm not 100% sure is worth it. I'm not sure the juice would be worth the squeeze for anyone. I would think you're probably going to be able to get by without doing it. That said, when he has been healthy, he's impressive. He's athletic. He's toolsy. I've been told, and I haven't seen this personally to be true, but I've been told some people think that his glove is capable of being the equal of Jared Triolo. We'll see. The Pirates have toyed with him at shortstop and third base as well. None of these guys scream franchise third baseman, but there's enough here to build something. You can certainly man the position here. Jared Triolo to me is not a lot different than going into a season with Ke'Bryan Hayes that we have done each of the last few seasons. Ke'Bryan Hayes not being here, though, that kind of opens the door for you to have at least a discussion about the plausibility of going out on the open market and getting somebody or trading for somebody. There's really no reason why you shouldn't be able to do something like that. This is a good situation to have, I think. You've got a steady presence there. You can call Jared Triolo a whole lot of things, and a lot of you would call him everything but the name his mom gave him. I get it. But Jared Triolo is not a bad player. He's a very good defender. He's a guy with at least an interesting bag of tools. There should be some upside to the bat that we haven't seen yet. At least we haven't seen it in long enough stretches to feel that it's 100% true yet. I think that's where we're at with Jared Triolo. And, you may very well have to prove it out again. But the Pirates may not have that opportunity for him. He's gotten years to do it. Brian Hayes had years to do it, right? And at some point, the Pirates may see third base as just too logical a spot to try to upgrade. I think it'll be easier to find somebody that can hit home runs that plays third base than it would be to find somebody who can hit home runs and play shortstop. Those guys tend to get locked down. If they can both play defense and hit, shortstops like that don't make the market very often. If they do, they're a big, super expensive trade piece. And I'm not 100% sure that's the way you want to go, especially with your own answer to that probably barreling towards the league in Connor Griffin, right? So maybe you'd be better suited just letting Triolo battle for playing time at second and short and third when he's spelling whoever you get in first base. I think where I'm coming down on this one is I'm going to highly recommend they go out on the market and or trade for one. I would think a guy that would be interesting potentially would be like Alec Boehm. Philadelphia had some interest in potentially moving on from him this last offseason. There was even a little bit of talk about him at the trade deadline. I think that would be a really, really nice way to go. If I'm the Pittsburgh Pirates, I would think like that fills a hole for you for right now. And if you truly believe in Jared Triolo, well, you can keep growing Jared Triolo. Hell, you can let Jared Triolo take the job from Alec Boehm if he's that damn good, right? But if you really want to go out and make statements like Travis Williams did, where you're talking about like bar none, period, full stop, we're going to go to the playoffs this year, these are the kind of decisions you have to make. Because the less bets you're making around the diamond, the better chance you're giving your team. And that's probably not the way that the Pirates look at things. The Pirates look at things based on what the analytics spit out that this team could produce, or they kind of take the average of the best and the worst that guys have done. But analytics don't do a real good job of factoring in things like age or a guy playing through injury or fatigue setting in, or analytics can kind of prepare you for an awful lot, but it just can't take you all the way where you need to go. That to me is the biggest problem as it comes to trying to build a team this way. If this is the way you're going to go about trying to build a team, you're always going to run into this. That situation's always going to arise. You're going to have kids that are interesting to you. And in order to win, you've got to kind of, okay, I want to play you. I do believe in you, but I've got to be damn sure. And again, if it doesn't matter whether you make the playoffs or have a winning season, you take that bet. You go, okay, listen, I really believe in what I saw in Jared Triolo. Bring it on, son. Show me what you did at the end of the season. Give me a full season of it in 2026. And you're our third baseman of the future, man. Let's do it. But if you go out there talking about like needing the playoffs, and that's good, well, then a position like that needs to be, yeah, we believe in you, but you guys won't mind if I buy an insurance policy, right? I mean, it's just like buying that beach house in North Carolina. Like you believe that your house will stand and the dunes will hold up, and but you still buy insurance, right? Because you have to. If you're promising something big like a place to live, or you're going to go to the playoffs, you have to make decisions like that. They're big boy decisions. They cost more money than you would need to spend to field a decent shot at a winner. But this is the first spot in our examination so far where I think you can probably think about going out and doing something right here. And it doesn't mean that you can't play Triolo elsewhere. It just means more, instead of betting on Nick York to be a great second baseman and Nick Gonzalez to be an okay shortstop and Jared Triolo to be an okay third baseman. Well, now you're kind of hoping that between the three of them, they can figure out that middle infield, at least until you start getting some of the next wave of reinforcements up here. And that's because you've gone out and addressed third base. Now, if you don't, third base, it's not just that Jared better be what he was. Again, I think you're sacrificing a very badly needed component. And I ask again, if you let all these positions be full, where exactly are you adding said power that you need super bad? Let's take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk about more Pirates news. They're keeping Matt Hague. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data, visuals, get smart categorization for your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. It helps organize, especially streaming apps. There are so many of them, and they all have different times of the month where the money comes out, and they'll increase the prices on you without notifying you necessarily, or if they do, it's in an email you ignored. That Monarch really helps with all this stuff. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. Hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Let's do segment 2, which is Matt Hague sticking around. And my big question really is why? The Pirates are reportedly keeping Matt Hague as the hitting coach, and I think it's fair to ask why. I tend to rate position coaches by what their best players do under their watch. And this year, O'Neal Cruz and Brian Reynolds, arguably two of the most talented hitters on the roster, had what anyone I think would consider down years. That's not all on Hague, but it's hard to ignore. And then, I talked to a buddy of mine, Scout, actually works for the Marlins, but I was talking to him and I was telling him about this subject I wanted to bring up. And he goes, "Is that really how you look at position coaches in the majors?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, you're stupid." And I go, "All right, I'll accept that. Why? Why am I stupid?" He says, "Because most position coaches, the last thing they do is touch any of what you would consider their best players. Like I said, yeah, but like Paul Skeens, and he goes, they just fired his pitching coach. You know why? Because he didn't have anything to do with Paul Skeens, probably. And I was like, I was flabbergasted by it. Really got me thinking, though. I don't know if it's true. I mean, I've talked to, players that should be considered to be better players, at least at their given time in the organization. And I know that they all have had interactions with their hitting coach, but I go, maybe there is something there. Maybe there isn't any kind of a effort necessarily to change the game with some of these guys. And so perhaps we overblow a little bit what the hitting coach does. I mean, because my thinking on it is like, well, yeah, it's nice like that you got like Nick Gonzalez and Tommy Pham and Spencer Horwitz to hit. And you've had some experience with Spencer Horwitz. So I mean, I'm glad that continued to work out and followed you to this organization, right? But I guess again, I keep going back to, if your stars regress though, while your role players improve, and I guess this was my return to my friend. I said, well, if that's the case, you have to go back and hope that your hitting coach is like at least preventing regression, right? You at least want them to be the runaway truck sand pile, right? You want them to be like the last thing, like, whoa, O'Neal, what's going on, brother? You're not hitting. Whoa, you're way off kilter. Let's step back from this. If that's not going on, then I mean, my whole understanding of what a hitting coach does or their purpose is out the window. I thought it was expressly for like when it comes to stars, when guys are struggling and they need some help seeing what's going on underneath everything. Apparently that's selectively the case. And I always assumed that the mediocre guys who did better was basically just because they're taking in that teaching because they're more hungry for learning, not because they're being taught more. But there's a lot of that makes a lot of sense too. And again, I'm certainly always willing to learn about what I do and don't know. The hitting coach situation to me seemed at the very least funny after moving on from Oscar Marin. I'm not sure that I would be questioning it had they not done that with the pitching side of things. But because they did, it seems like really silly for me not to bring it up on the hitting side. Like, you decided to keep something that was wholly uninspiring and ineffective. Why? What did you see? What conversations were had? What do you think might change? Do you think anybody will tell us things like that? I don't. Because what I hear every time a position coach is questioned, and I mean this under the Travis Williams, Ben Cherington umbrella, since they came here, whenever you ask about policy, you get back something about how hard they work. Right? You get back like, hey, what do you think that Matt Hague is doing here to help these guys and improve? They're really striking out way too much for a team that doesn't hit hardly any home runs. What's Matt Hague working on there? Ben and or Don Kelly and or anybody else who's got a P on their chest that wants to talk? Well, I can tell you this, he's working real hard. That's great. That's great that he's working real hard. If you were to build a rowing team and one guy decided to row in the opposite direction, would you continue to allow him because he was working real hard? Or do you think you might try to get him to turn around to row in the same direction as everyone else. I'm just asking. I don't care how hard they work. I want to hear what it is in particular that you've identified that makes you think Matt Hague's the right person. What have you identified that he's going to change? Because whatever he did, first year or not, it didn't work. So I can't imagine you've asked him to come back and just do the exact same thing he did, but everything's going to work out this time. So what have you asked him to change? What new things are being instituted? Is there a chance that we can get some help for the hitting? Like brought in Brent Strom to help with the pitching. Can we see about getting a hitting guy like that? And maybe even if my scout friend is right, and traditionally stars, quote fingers for you guys that are listening, don't usually get that individualized instruction. Maybe after last season, this team's stars should. You always want to be different and smartest guy in the room. Let's do something different than other people. Pirates need someone who can smooth the edges and bridge the gap between analytics and feel, between raw talent and consistent production. Hague might be that guy, but if he's not, keeping him could be a missed opportunity. I would think we should at least be thinking about replacing Daniel Vogelbach. Get me somebody who did something better in the majors than see a lot of pitches. Get me somebody that understands the balance between having power and still having a decent contact bat, especially situationally. That's the type of stuff I want to get somebody who specializes in teaching situational hitting. Just something like that for a team that doesn't hit a ton of home runs. It could be a gigantic leap forward. But I don't like just it kind of like comes out. Oh yeah, we're keeping him. I want to hear why. I think we deserve that. This was a team that was really bad, and they were really bad and propped up on pitching to be only as bad as they got. You made a ton of changes to pitching. You didn't make it on the hitting side. I'm sorry. I feel like I deserve a real question and answer on that. As it is, what's going to happen is they're going to hire a new pitching coach and everything. And all of these questions are going to get piled into that press conference. So again, you won't get to celebrate the new guy or really understand what the new guy is going to do, because we'll have to spend that whole press conference talking about all the things that you didn't do before or didn't do this year, or the guys you didn't fire, and the whys and the whats about all that. This team has so many things to do on the field, but off the field, they just need somebody that knows how to operate a damn business. They need somebody that understands how to run a press shop, knows how to communicate. They need this almost worse than anybody they need to fire. You can't tell me that this is the best that you can do on a shoestring budget to find a talker. I mean, my God. Let's take another break. Let's come back. Let's talk about the Arizona Fall League. I'm out in Arizona. It seems appropriate. Let's do that. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person. But actually getting tickets, that's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees. It takes all the fun out of it. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives you the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by a Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. The app makes it super simple. You can even see the exact view from the seat before you buy it. And I already mentioned it, but it's super important. Know your total upfront. The fees are included with no surprise fees at checkout. Download Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. Hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Make sure you smash that subscribe and hit me with a like. So I'm out in Arizona for other business, but baseball nerd that I am, yes, I knew the Arizona Fall League was getting started yesterday. And so I went and looked at the schedule. I'm going to try as hard as I can to get to a Salt River game here while I'm out here this week for you guys. I want to, and for me. Okay, it's mostly for me. But I love this sort of environment. It's a weird mix of young and older guys. Um, Guys trying out for that Rule 5 protection, guys who were injured for a decent stretch that need to get some innings and or at bats in. It's a neat thing to see all the different teams in MLB come together and have one team that'll have 5 or 6 different teams representing it. And I just think it's neat the way it all comes together. It's coached cooperatively. You know, if you don't want a guy used in the field, they'll respect them. Looks like my mic came unplugged. Sorry about that. It's neat out here in Arizona, though, is the point. And there's all these different stadiums, and I mean, they're like within a 20-minute drive of each other. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. I could go to a game right now, and I don't think it would have anything to do with the Pirates, but I could go to a game right this second. And then there's 2 more, like 20 minutes away going on. It's just one of the neater things that I've ever seen. It's different than spring training, but I don't have a team that does spring training out in Arizona. So I would imagine if you do, this is all old school to you. But for me, it was pretty neat to see so far. I'm hoping to check out more of it as the week goes on. So the Pirates are sending pitchers Derek Diamond, Joshua Loshkorn, Dominic Parachi, Carlson Reed, who I'm super excited about, and Jaden Woods to the Arizona Fall League. Carlson Reed, probably the most exciting on that group, I would say, for me at least. And he was injured a lot of the season, so good to see him get some extra innings in there. And then hitters, Esmerlyn Valdez is going to be there. Outfielder, first baseman, number 15 prospect. And I think you guys all know what there is to be excited about. Tony Blanco Jr. and Will Taylor outfield. He's unranked, but let's talk about where these guys are. Esmerlyn Valdez, Rule 5 eligible. He's coming off a breakout season. He hit 289, 26 home runs across 2 levels, 901 OPS, or 3 levels, sorry. He cut down on strikeouts and became a more complete hitter. This is his final audition before a potential 40-man decision, if you ask me. Tony Blanco Jr., injuries limited him to only 30 games, but he still hit 8 home runs, recorded a 119.8 mile per hour exit velocity, hardest ever tracked by a minor leaguer. The AFL is about reps and staying healthy. And then Will Taylor, former 2-sport athlete with a strong season, 262, 373, 458, 14 home runs, 23 stolen bases. He's not a 2026 candidate, but he is a strong AFL showing, and it could push him into Altoona maybe early next year. These three bats represent different paths: power, polish, and projection. Pirates need impact hitters, and the AFL could be a proving ground. It's just a good place to see these guys push themselves a little bit. Valdez has, honestly, he's accepted every single challenge that has come his way this whole season. I wouldn't expect anything less in Arizona. The thin air should do him well. Tony Blanco Jr., too, if he gets into one here in the thin air, he is going to absolutely destroy it. I'm really hoping to get a chance to see those guys play. But more importantly, the Arizona Fall League is just a place where guys are sent for different reasons. A lot of time it is an audition like it is for Valdez. Sometimes they do the audition and then the guy performs really well and then they don't act on it anyway. I think we saw that with what was his name? The catcher that ended up getting taken by the Giants that everybody was really mad about. Oh man, it's gonna kill me. So one of you in the comments tell me. But it's gonna kill me. But you'll know who exactly I'm talking about. He played all over the place too. Would have probably been a nice bat for the Pirates to keep, but they ended up letting him go and he went in the Rule 5. So, and that was after a really nice Arizona Fall League performance. So sometimes it doesn't matter because the team just doesn't take action. But this is an opportunity for these guys to continue having a little bit longer of a season. Valdez in particular, I really think this is his exclamation point. This is probably where he puts his for sure stamp on making sure that he gets the 40-man spot. That's all I got for you today. Third base is up for grabs. The hitting coach is staying, and the desert is calling for 8 young Pirates. There's a lot to unpack and even more to watch as the offseason unfolds. Oh, and arbitration award estimates are out for 2026 too. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. So I'll see you then.